Now, the ANC's long-standing ally, COSATU, has threatened to withdraw its electoral support for the governing party. At its Central Executive Committee meeting, the Federation said that there are major problems facing workers that will not make it hard to convince them to support the ANC during the upcoming elections. Now, COSATU has also accused the National Treasury of mismanaging the economy and victimizing public service employees. With local elections coming up, faced with a disillusioned COSATU and the lost faith in the president's economic reconstruction plan, can the ANC afford to lose COSATU? We're going to discuss this, among other issues, with the ANC's head of economic transformation, Enoch Godongwana, who joins me in studio right now. Mr. Godongwana, thank you very much for your time. Firstly, how do you respond to that threat? It doesn't come for the first time that COSATU says it may just withdraw electoral support. In fact, we saw one of its biggest unions, which ended up exiting COSATU, withdrawing support first for the ANC. That was, I think, in the lead-up to the 2016 local elections, if I'm not mistaken. Just respond to this threat for the moment.
First and foremost, there's been no formal discussion between the ANC and COSATU about COSATU's withdrawal. That's the first point I want to make, and therefore it's still out in the public domain. I don't think it's a matter which, within the structures of the alliance, it's a matter which has been canvassed sufficient.
But it's a statement, Mr. Godongwana.
Wait. I'm still saying that's my first point. My second point is that in any family, there will be some disputes. I think these, amongst the family disputes we are facing, occasioned, of course, by the current economic crisis which the country faces.
That's it?
Yeah.
All right. This statement by COSATU, it is made coming out of a very important decision-making body of the Federation. It's the highest decision-making body in between their conferences. Surely the ANC should take that seriously. It's not like a statement that's made by a leader of COSATU at an impromptu press conference somewhere. It's a decision that comes as a result of discussions of the CEC.
Let me just say I'm aware that at the end of those discussions, the ANC cannot simply ignore them. We take all our alliance partners seriously. I'm also aware that there are interactions between the affected parties to get to grips with these challenges.
Let's get to grips with the challenges that face the country right now, Mr. Godongwana. The ANC's document, Economic Reconstruction Plan, they talk about, at the heart of this plan to revive the economy, is mobilizing investment and accelerating industrialization, among other objectives. Now, I'd like to hone in on energy security in the country. How in the world do we hope to invite investment into the country when we have an Eskom CEO who's just said that if he could stop load shedding, but that will mean that he stops maintaining the old power stations that are simply, that should be decommissioned actually by now. How in the world do you hope to invite investment into this country when you have an energy insecure economy?
Let me say, first and foremost, I'm going to be a bit longer on this question like others. Let me say, I'm not impressed by what the CEO of Eskom is saying. We've had one of the worst load sheddings in the context of lockdown. In other words, the system was not that under pressure because there was little economic activity, and therefore there was no justifiable reason for that extent of load shedding. So Eskom itself has become a burden and a problem in this economy. Let me go further then and say one of my arguments, which I've said, we've got to forget about Eskom and increase capacity in this economy. Because we've done a major mistake over the past 13 years, if I may say that, because load shedding started in 2008. We'll be spending most of our effort in fixing Eskom than in introducing new capacity in the economy, which will make sure that the electricity, there's electricity supply in this economy. So that's a challenge we need to be grappling with, and I agree with you. Electricity shortages have been a major perennial problem in terms of investment in the economy. Unless we address that thing, that question, we're not going to deal with investment properly. So,
in your words, are you saying that Andre de Ruyter is failing at turning around this situation?
Let me just say, my eyes are off Eskom at the moment. All right? My eyes are, I'm focusing on whether the Minister of Energy can do us a favor and actually make sure that we implement the integrated resource plan as a matter of urgency and increase new capacity by those who can afford in investing in electricity in this economy.
Mr. Gorongwana, your eyes cannot possibly be off Eskom, and you look to Gwede Mantashe and his energy department, because right now, the power utility is holding the economy to ransom. Some of the companies that are operating in the country right now cannot operate optimally because
that's why I'm saying
Eskom.
That's why I'm saying Xoli. That's why I'm saying we need to increase capacity. You'll see a small paragraph in the Lekgotla where we say, among other things, we need to make sure that we introduce what is called emergency measures. In other words, while Eskom is trying to grapple with 1,000 in one...
But that has long been in the pipeline, by the way. That very emergency.
Wait. Let me finish. Let me finish. I'm saying we, from the ANC's perspective, mind, we're not implementers. We're just putting our aspirations that what is needed, what needs to be done is to make sure that government can implement emergency measures that are bringing capacity into the economy so that we don't have the challenges of electricity supply.
What timelines had you set, Gwede Mantashe?
No, we don't set some timelines. We don't do those things when we make decisions. I was asking somebody else was asking me about the legal implications of your decision. I said, we don't invite lawyers when we make decisions. We express our aspirations, and I hope that those who are tasked with the decisions will deal with the timelines and detail.
Yeah. I want to focus on Eskom for a bit.
Yeah.
Their leadership squabbles there. Andre de Ruyter is facing mounting challenges from within his leadership. So Lichitangano is on suspension from non-performance. How should South Africans read this leadership disquiet at Eskom right now?
Let me say, I can only answer your question at a general level, because it is not the ANC's task to deal with what I call operational issues at Eskom. There's a minister assigned to deal with those issues. However, such squabbles are not in the interest of the institution. That's all we can say at this stage.
But you will agree with me if I describe it as a material threat to the growth of the economy and, importantly, to turning that institution around.
There's no doubt about that. Eskom supplies more than 90% of the electricity in this country. Any disruption in Eskom constitutes, correctly as you say, a material threat to this economy.
Is Andre de Ruyter failing or winning in turning around this institution?
I'm not qualified to make a judgment on the individual, but I can make a judgment on the institution and say Eskom thus far has not performed up to the expectations of this economy.
That's an indictment. Let's talk about the ANC recovery plan, which talks about undertaking large-scale public investment into key sectors, and top of that list is energy. I would like for you to put that into practical terms for us and tell us what are you talking about here when you talk about large-scale investment into sectors like energy, and couple that with timelines.
There are two aspects to that proposal. The first one is that one of the quickest way of stimulating growth and stimulating demand in the economy is by public investment. And therefore we're suggesting that part of that public investment must be in the area of infrastructure spending. That's a broad economic approach. And indeed, you can see some kind of thinking in that direction. If you look in the budget review at the moment, in infrastructure, capital spending is one of the fastest growing kind of component of expenditure if you count the non-interest part of it. So in that direction, then government is beginning to deal with that question. That's the first component of it, but the second part of it is that unless that kind of infrastructure, which is basically enabling economic activity, is actually improved, we're not going to make an increased investment and growth.
Interestingly, when you talk about infrastructure investment, you're the chairperson of the Development Bank of Southern Africa, whose critical role is investing in infrastructure. So, what kind of investments is your institution that you lead at the level of the board investing in this economy?
You know, Patrick Lamini will kill me. I'm here as an ANC. If he hears me, the CEO, speaking on behalf of DBSA, he will definitely kill me. But let me tell you a couple of points, and by way of passing, but I don't want to represent DBSA here. But if you care to know, is that even the entire IPP program, the entire PEP program and the IPP office, its existence over and that investment of 250 billion rand was facilitated by the Development Bank of Southern Africa. I'm just using that. At the moment, we are charged by government to be in charge on what is called the infrastructure fund. So DBSA is poised to play that critical role. In any municipality, the biggest municipality in this country, and ask them who's funding their infrastructure, you'll find that is Development Bank of Southern Africa. But I want to step off that point because Patrick Lamini will kill me. I'm not a spokesperson of DBSA. I'm a spokesperson for the ANC.
I will also tell you, Mr. Godowan, that my managers here are going to kill me for not asking you specific questions related to DBSA because I can't miss that opportunity, otherwise I'm not doing my job. One of those questions...
That's possibly I'm going to be undermining them if I come here and speak on their behalf. I'm a non-executive director at DBSA.
But there have been serious accusations that have been leveled at the level of the board chairperson along with some senior executives that you have victimized some board members who pointed out the issue of some loans that were written off for 3 entities. Now, I'd like to ask you the question, is there a relationship between yourself and those 3 entities along with these senior executives that you are alleged to have acted in concert with?
Let me just say, I said I don't want to speak on behalf of DBSA. DBSA are better qualified to answer this question. Let me just take these 3 entities that are being referred to. I don't know which is the third one. I know 2. The first one, the deal was done in 2007. I was not, it was how many years? Almost probably 12 years before I joined DBSA. That's the first point. The second point, there's a committee that decides, which is called in any institution an audit committee, which discusses on what to write off and so on and so on. I don't even sit for governance purposes in that committee. That's the second point. The third point is that all these matters have been reported by the third members to the Auditor General, to every institution you can think of. Auditor General have gone through all those issues. There's absolutely no substance in those allegations. So I don't want here to be speaking on behalf of DBSA. I think DBSA are qualified to speak on their behalf, but I just wanted to put that behind us.
All right. Whilst on the issue of infrastructure then, how does the country plan to move this issue of infrastructure development forward when we are told that we are losing key skills in the engineering sector?
My reading this week was fascinating in the sense that the biggest construction companies reported positive outlook, one of which was WBHO, and I think the other one was Marine Road. They were beginning to say they are reading good signs in terms, we're beginning to see the fitting in of the infrastructure spending of government. So in that sense, then the companies are beginning to prepare themselves, and I will make the assumption that they will be developing their skills base. Of course, if we continue in the path that we've been pursuing in the past and not spending on infrastructure, that reality was going to confront us.
Yeah. On the health front, Mr. Godongwana.
On the
health front. Health.
Yeah. You must know I'm not a doctor, by the way.
Okay. I'm well aware of that. We have been faced...
A friendly reminder.
Indeed. I'm well aware. I'm well aware. Yeah. But we've been faced with the issue of the coronavirus pandemic. Yeah. At the level of the ANC, are you satisfied with the handling of this matter? And I say this on the back of a very heated discussion in Parliament just this past week over government being criticized by MPs for what they say is a misleading program to the nation, and that is that government has termed the current rollout of the Johnson & Johnson as a vaccination program, when in actual fact it is a study. Just overall, how does the ANC assess how the whole issue around the coronavirus?
Are you a fan of a football club?
Unfortunately, I don't follow football. I'm being honest.
Oh, you follow rugby? Let me just tell
my sport is exactly this, questioning you.
Let me just tell you interesting things about life. If you see players in the field playing, and you listen to the spectators, how bad these players are, it shows you the difficult things about life. It's quite easily, when we are sitting on the outside, to be able to see the mistakes of the people who are in the heat of things. Like people, when you look at the fence, they can even kill a referee or a coach or something. Life is like that. You know, when you run a government, you are making difficult choices under difficult conditions. This government is faced with the problem of making sure that they can start a vaccination program. Now, listening to the minister in the president's office, yeah, she was explaining this matter, and I was satisfied. She said, we've never said it's a role that we never captured in the manner in which we've always understood it to be a rollout, to be understood to be trials, but we're also rolling out at the same time. So I said I'm not a doctor, but all I'm trying to suggest to you, government is under pressure to start the vaccination program. And they are doing everything possible to achieve that objective. And in the process, there will be mistakes. No doubt about that. Only people who are doing something who are making mistakes.
But those mistakes, Mr. Kodongwan, if those mistakes persist, then it means the country is going to miss its target of vaccinating 67% of the population before the end of the year, which means that the economy cannot move at the pace that government wishes it could.
Now, I can comment on the last point you have made, because the targeting and vaccine program and so on belong to a different sphere. I've got an interest in it to the extent that it helps the economic recovery, right? So I'm as anxious as any other South Africans that we must achieve that rollout, because that rollout is going to help in easing the economy substantially, and we begin to bring the economy back to activity.
I want to move on to a different subject.
Yeah. We have been moving on to different subjects, so I'm used to it.
And that is corruption,
yeah,
Mr. Kodongwan.
Yeah.
The standoff between former President Jacob Zuma and the Zondo Commission, could that be a deterrent to inviting investment into the country?
Look, investors look at the country and put their money. One of the assumptions they make is political stability. Okay? If they then come to the conclusion that there's going to be political instability, it poses a threat to their money and therefore do not invest. Therefore, that standoff creates an environment where we are a constitutional democracy.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore, it creates an environment where there's a threat to that constitutional democracy, in the sense that there are people who say, I can't, and lack of a better word, I'm trying to be, better ways to capture these things. I can't, therefore, comply with the Constitution.
I would like it to perhaps use a different language to it and say, if investors
you're not constrained like me. There's a political career to manage, so you don't.
If investors see that the rule of law in South Africa is under threat, is not being observed by a person who himself was the embodiment of the Constitution, if you like, as a former president. If the rule of law in the country is under threat, what needs to be done to demonstrate adherence to the rule of law?
No, adherence to the rules of the law is enforcing the rules. Simply and straightforward. I don't care whether there's a guy who rocks up in their construction site and say, I want 30%. You see what I mean? Those small things, you need rule of law. South Africans need to live in a safe environment. If there's no rule of law, then...
So in specific reference to this issue, at the heart of what the top six is going to be meeting about tomorrow, by the way.
The law is taking its own course there.
How?
Judge Zondo is going to the Constitution. The ANC can't make any decision on that matter. The court has gone. They can only provide advice to the former president, but they can't make a decision. It is the laws of the land and the institutions of the state that have got to deal with that question.
So why is the ANC quiet around those?
Quiet in what sense?
Why have you not pressured the NPA to do the necessary...
No, that's the worst thing you want to do. The day the NPA is pressured by government to arrest anybody...
No. I'm not saying by government.
No.
Pressured by the governing party, whether it be its alliance. In fact, COSATU has done it.
No.
The SACP has done it.
The ANC, the day it does that, let me tell you, the days it does that, even in the ANC, NPA will be pressured to arrest people of a different faction. You don't want to do that.
Yeah.
What you want to do that is the institutions of the state to operate in terms of the constitution, free of political influence.
When we return, Mr. Kodongwana, I want us to discuss this, and it's a soundbite from a member of your party, very senior at that, who serves at the very same National Executive Committee in which you serve. Just have a listen to his comments. It is important that you take us into your confidence, what it is that you know happens in Stellenbosch, because for all I know, as an ordinary South African, the decisions that are taken about this country and where it ought to go, they should be taken at Mahlambandlovu, if not in Pretoria, Mahlambandlovu, then in Denel, that's in Cape Town, by the president of the country. So who makes decisions for the president? Because that's the implication of what you are saying.
I am going to come on another date to unpack that aspect. Suffice to say that today, for the viewers and you to know that this decision, it is on record on the judgment of the court that they had to go to Stellenbosch, where this decision was taken, and an agreement to craft an affidavit that seeked to say I was part of a bribe, or I was part of a blank check where we're taken.
Well, back to my discussion now with the ANC's head of economic transformation, Kodongwana. Mr. Kodongwana, just before the break, we played a soundbite of my conversation with Bongane Bongo, an NEC member, who basically suggests in that conversation that decisions of the country, important decisions of the country, are being taken at Stellenbosch. Who sits in Stellenbosch, and are you, as the ANC executive, because as I mentioned earlier, he sits in the same executive committee, are you running the country in conjunction with people who sit in Stellenbosch?
Look, I do not know any discussion with people who discussed with Stellenbosch. But let me tell you the following. Since the evolution of the debate about state capture, there are those who are trying to divert attention away from state capture to develop a conspiracy theory around Stellenbosch in order to divert attention to the real issues of corruption and state capture. That's the issue confronting the country.
When you say divert attention from state capture and talk about Stellenbosch, is the implication of what you're saying that the claim is that there is state capture too, but this time via people who sit in Stellenbosch?
That's the kind of narrative that we are beginning to throw around, which people cannot give you some substantive evidence to prove that. So that's why I'm saying it's purely a conspiracy theory which has been developed to divert away attention from the real issue confronting the country, which is corruption and state capture.
The president, does he have a relationship with people who sit in Stellenbosch?
I don't know his relationship with, I don't even know the people in Stellenbosch, but if you are saying does he know any business person in Stellenbosch, he used to be a businessman. Of course he should know some people in Stellenbosch, some business people, not necessarily in Stellenbosch.
Mr. Kodongwana, this is a very confusing time for people in South Africa. It's important for leaders like you to take us into your confidence when such claims are being made. So, as ordinary South Africans, what should we make of this
in
claim?
other words, you say I must take into confidence by lying.
No.
Okay.
No. I'm simply saying what you know, it's important for you to share with us and by extension the public.
What I know is that the constitution of the ANC says in between conferences, the national executive of the ANC is the supreme policy-making and decision-making body. Now, if Bongo says when he comes into that meeting, he's not reflecting his own views and is not representing the interests of members of the ANC. I don't know what to say about that. Unless people try and prove to us that so-and-so has been to Stellenbosch, here is the evidence, and he was told ABC. I do not have that information and evidence to mislead the public under the guise that I'm taking them into confidence.
Are there discussions right now, Mr. Godongwana, because it would seem that political temperature is rising within the ANC? Are there discussions right now inside the party about whether President Cyril Ramaphosa is still keen to continue as leader of the party and, by extension, leader of the country? Or are those discussions waiting for key conferences?
I would imagine those discussions are definitely going to arise at the appropriate time when we're approaching conference. To my knowledge at the moment, our preoccupation is economic recovery, is managing the virus. We're preoccupied with those issues at the moment.
And so there are no names on slates that are moving around?
No. You will see a number of slates, and I don't believe in them. I mean,
so they are? So these discussions are happening?
No, I'm just saying that if you read the WhatsApps, there are a number of slates, and in some of the slates, why I don't believe them, some of them, the people are putting one slate a chalk and cheese.
What does that mean?
the chalk and cheese. I mean, I saw the one with Joel Netiteze being a national chair. With some other people, I don't think Joel would probably serve with them. So all I'm trying to say is just a concoction of slates which I don't attach any significance in them. I don't want even to get to a situation of accusing the people who appear in those slates as canvassing.
Is the president still interested to continue to lead the party?
And I'm not sure whether that's the choice. That's his choice. My sense is that the ANC has got to say, when we went to Nasrec and appointed and elected this president, what was the strategic objective we wanted to achieve? Have we achieved it? Is he the right face to continue with the program? If not, what is the right face? That's a matter of discussion by the ANC branches.
So far, as the situation holds on the ground?
Interesting enough, I've not seen, even in the slates that are being thrown around in WhatsApp groups, I've not, it's unfortunate, maybe there's lots of support, I've not seen his name.
Mr. Godongwana, as I wrap up my conversation with you, the discussion around SAA, I want to talk about state-owned entities now. I know you said DBSA, you don't want to speak about them because you're going to be in trouble, but here's the reality, and that is that there was a promised post-rescue commencement credit by DBSA of an amount of 3.5 billion to SAA. Where is that at the moment? Where is that process?
No, anybody who says that is telling you lies. Let me tell you what are the facts. What are the facts? National Treasury last year collected money from different departments, but that money was not yet in the revenue fund and not appropriated. And therefore, they needed a bridging finance until that money is appropriated to fund SAA. The amount was 3.5 billion, right?
Okay.
Then DBSA provided that bridging finance to Treasury to support SAA, 3.5 billion.
Okay.
Then in July last year, after the appropriation, 3.5 was paid back to DBSA. I don't know now other thing. I don't know any other promise by DBSA other than that amount.
Talking about SOEs then, What is the future of SAA?
I don't know.
How can you not know?
All I can tell you is the following. All I can tell you is the following. There's too much pressure from state-owned enterprises for recapitalization and so on. Not only SAA. SAA, there are people who are dealing with the operational issues, I don't know. But all I do know, there's such pressures on the fiscus. And I don't think the fiscus can afford all of them. That's the point I'm making. The danger with that is having an impact on the division of revenue. Because as more money goes in state-owned enterprises, less and less go into the subnational governments, provinces and municipalities, who themselves need money. So those are the policy choices that need to be made.
Final question, and it's on a different SOE, Denel, the arms manufacturer. In this hour, I'm going to be talking to an investigation that was done by Open Secrets. And
who are those?
Open Secrets is a body that has investigated what it says is South Africa, through Denel, profiting from war crimes in Yemen. How could a state entity be found to be doing something like that?
To my knowledge, I've looked into this question. It has appeared, I think, in Mail and Guardian and so on. And somebody was saying to me, I mean, I don't have the facts, but somebody said to me, but by the way, how can those arms be in Yemen when, in fact, they've never been delivered?
Are you saying those arms have never been delivered?
Apparently, they were ordered by UAE, whatever.
Saudi Arabia and the UAE. They appear to be the biggest clients of Denel.
Those arms, well, they were ordered by Denel, but there's a committee in government which is supposed to have been approved. And to my knowledge, I'm not privy to that information. I'm not in government, but I'm told that was never approved by the relevant cabinet committee, and the arms were not delivered.
I guess what I'm asking you, Mr. Godongwana, is the final.
No, I'm trying to say, I'm reading this thing, trying to get to grips and chatting with people.
Yes.
And somebody says to me, dismissed and said, but how can they, when those arms were never delivered in the first place?
I guess what you're saying is because you don't have knowledge, therefore we can't speak definitively on this issue. But let me tell you what my interest around this question is. South Africa's foreign policy is anchored and is guided by the issue of human rights. Now, would that be an indictment to the South African government if Denel is found to have been profiting from war crimes?
Denel would probably, if they sold those arms to those countries, they probably would not be in the position they are in today because they would have made money. My own instinct sitting here, I don't have the information, my own instinct is that such arms are not even delivered. That's my own instinct.
Godongwana, thank you very much for your time, sir.
Thank you.
Much appreciated.
Thank you very much.
Hopefully you will hopefully join us next time when we invite you.
No, I do.
Thank you. That's the head of the ANC's economic policy, Enoch Godongwana. Still to come at 4:30 will be an interview on South Africa's participation in the bloody conflict in Yemen. You do not want to miss that discussion. You're watching Newsfeed, the PM edition.